Dorian Yates, there's a thing with forearms, I never did any training for forearms. All of that was just from gripping the bar when I was doing back training mainly, and some biceps training and stuff. So I had 19-inch forearms, and I didn't do a single exercise for them apart from gripping onto stuff. You couldn't fit any more muscle onto that frame. I got a suit from Hugo Boss off the rack, and I was so happy I could finally just buy a suit off the rack. Before, I had to have it made, go for a fitting, then go for another fitting. They looked at the measurements on paper like, what is this? It's this wide going down to, what is this, a wardrobe? What is it? Dorian Yates, the 19-inch forearms he never directly trained. One of the most remarkable stories in bodybuilding history centers not on chest, quads, or lats, but on forearms. Dorian Yates, six-time Mr. Olympia champion, once revealed that his massive forearms were never the result of targeted forearm workouts. Instead, they came as a byproduct, a side effect of his brutal back and arm training. As Yates put it, "There's a thing with forearms, I never did any training for forearms. All of that was just from gripping the bar when I was doing back training mainly, and some biceps training and stuff." And yet, despite that lack of direct focus, his forearms measured around 19 inches. That's a size that would impress nearly any serious bodybuilder, and one that, by his account, came just from holding onto the bar. What this says about genetics, training and bodybuilding philosophy. 1. Grip-intensive work can grow more than you expect. Yates's experience suggests that heavy compound movements, especially those requiring strong grip and forearm engagement, like rows, deadlifts, pull-ups, etc., can stimulate forearm development, sometimes significantly. For some individuals, especially with good genetics, this may suffice, without direct isolation forearm exercises. 2. Not all muscle growth needs to be by the book. Bodybuilding often emphasizes isolation, targeting, and specialization. But Yates's legacy shows that results can come from unconventional paths. He wasn't afraid to let his physique, and his grip strength, do the work. 3. Genetics and individual response matter a lot. Yates himself acknowledged the uniqueness of his results. He once admired bodybuilders like Mike Mentzer for their genetics and rugged build, and aimed to emulate that logic and intensity. Even for him, there was a "this worked because I was fortunate" undertone. In other words, not everyone will get 19-inch forearms just by gripping the bar. 4. Changing standards, and what gets neglected today. In a more recent interview, Yates lamented how today's bodybuilding appears to undervalue forearms and calves. He observed that many modern competitors lack the forearm and calf development that was common in his era. That suggests a shift in priorities, perhaps more focus now on size, conditioning, symmetry, but sometimes at the expense of functional detail like forearms. What we can learn, and what to take with a grain of salt. Forearms can grow from heavy compound lifts, especially if grip is taxed heavily, rows, deadlifts, pull-ups, etc. You may see forearm gains without isolation curls or wrist work. But results depend heavily on genetics and overall training intensity. What worked for Yates may not work for everyone. If your natural response to grip work is weak, neglecting direct forearm exercises might lead to underdevelopment. Be mindful of imbalances. Some body parts, for many people, respond poorly to passive stimulation. If your forearms lag compared to your biceps back, some targeted forearm or grip work may be beneficial. Don't underestimate grip strength and functional lifting. Heavy compound movements build more than just the muscle you see. They build tendons, connective tissue, and joint strength, which can contribute to overall muscularity, especially in forearms. Bullseye. Why Yates's story still resonates. Back when social media and bodybuilding how-tos weren't everywhere, Yates achieved one of the most complete builds the sport had seen, including a pair of forearms so thick they seemed disproportionate even among pros. That came not from obsessive isolation, but from brutal honesty, training hard, lifting heavy, gripping the bar, and letting results come. In a fitness culture that now often prioritizes flashy isolation exercises and aesthetic symmetry, Yates's example is a powerful reminder. Sometimes, the most effective workouts are the simplest, the hard sets, the heavy pulls, the willingness to embrace discomfort. And perhaps most importantly, sometimes, growth, real, raw, undeniable, comes from letting the iron do the talking.